Welcome to KSTV. My name is Giacomo Smith, and I'm really excited to be joined by my friend and collaborator, Adrian Cox. How are you, Adrian?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm really good. I mean, it was fun going for a walk earlier and reminiscing that we actually met
just around the corner.
Just around the corner from here.
Yeah.
About what would that have been? 8 years ago?
8 years. Have you even been
I've been here 9 years now.
Okay, so let's say 8 years.
8 years, because you were still living in Belgravia.
I was in Belgravia.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the good times. Belgravia, living above the pub. Yeah, but it was around the corner at English's. Yeah.
But there are no times better than now. So
no, now's the best time.
This is it's amazing to see you and to kind of to hear you play again. And I think, you know, I have to say that you've always been an inspiration to me. And no, you have, because
that's kind.
because
Totally
we're part of a kind of a small club, you know, of people who play that.
Yeah.
What is that again?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen one for a while. Yeah. Well, no, we've got to stick together. You've got to be on the same side.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it's. I just wanted to kind of talk to you a bit about, you know, playing the clarinet and what you think about when because you play a lot of different kinds of music, but you always sound like you.
Right.
And where does that come from?
Well, I think that's a lovely compliment. Thanks, mate. And it's, you know, playing with you, when I first met you and playing with you, that was an inspiration for me. That got me going again. Because you do with playing, as you know, you get in a rut and you do this. But from when I started playing, my clarinet teacher, a man called Jack Gilbert, he said to me, you know, because he was like, have you listened to this? Have you listened to this? And I would listen to stuff, and I said, oh, I like this guy. I mentioned Sammy Remington to him, you know. He said, well, Sammy Remington's great. He said, but you've got to listen to who he listened to. And then that's when he said, right, here's Jazz at Vespers, George Lewis. Here's this. Here's Emil Barnes. Here's all these old Albert Nicholas, all these clarinetists that no one's ever, you know, lots of people wouldn't have heard of or didn't know, but he said, you've got to listen to them. He said, and then from that, you take a bit from there and a bit from there, and then you get your event. The ideal is that you get your own thing going on and you become you. And it's funny, I've been during this time, I've been doing these solo clarinet things, which has been a whole thing on itself. But I've been studying, you know, doing one. I've got one on Dodds coming out. I've, you know, done one on Ed Hall, of course, and Omer Simeon. But people have commented, even though I'm specifically playing their music and playing in the style of them and doing that, every time they listen to it, they say, we know it's you immediately. And that for me that means a lot. Because that's, you know, people go, as soon as you play, you know, Joe Webb says it, goes, as soon as I hear you play, I know it's you.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, you know, you strive to do that you have your own sound, not in a way, it's a very strange thing, but I'm very pleased that comes across, because that is the kind of goal that yourself comes out. You know?
So you started playing when you were a really young kid. When did you start?
6 years old.
6 years old,
yeah.
Right. That's great.
15 years ago.
When do you think you arrived at a point where you thought, okay, this is what I want to sound like? Or are you still developing that?
I think it was funny, I was having a conversation last night about this exact point, and I was saying to my partner, I was saying, you know, these are the people who I'm into. Like, listen to these people now. And she reminds me and says, you do realise that you have your own sound and you have your own thing going on. You are aware of that. And I'm like, well, I am aware, but I think you're always striving to go, right, how's he doing that? Why is he doing it? You know, I listen to things you do and go, oh, God, I wish I had a bit of that going on. Then I'll go and sit at home and try and do that. But, you know, my girlfriend reminds me, don't lose what you've got by trying to... She's like, because I listen to that and don't get excited by that.
Yeah.
It's like, but I listen to you and I'm excited by that, which is great, you know, and, you know, a bit of biased probably, but that's a nice thing, you know, and
no, I think that's a great point, not to get lost adding ingredients to the pot.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so I've been doing this for a long time. I've found a path, and I'm gonna stick to it. And if I take in other influences,
well, I mean, you could be an amazing curry chef, but you do also eat sushi. Do you know what I mean? And you like that. And that's good. And actually, there was, you know, so it's all, you know, I don't know if that's a good analogy, but that's sort of, you know, but anyway, so I think going along through my life, you know, I think I had a style quite early on, which was very reminiscent of my clarinet teacher, but that was a kind of obvious thing that was going to happen. You know, the person teaching you, I played out the side of my mouth more, you know, I bounced around on stage. It was called Jumping Jack Gilbert. I played you know, and even to this day, if I play bands that play, you know, in that kind of vein, banjo, drums, double bass, but in that kind of trad jazz style, I'll go in to start bouncing around and I start sounding a bit like him, but not like him, it's me. And but I think, you know, from that age, he said it to me. I remember he came to a gig. I went professional when I was 15. Then he came to a gig when I was 16 and a half or something like that. And he walked in and he'd always said to me, one thing he said was, never be a professional musician. He said, never do it. He said, you'll have fame. He said, you'll have no fortune whatsoever. And then my music teacher at school phoned up Jack Gilbert and said, oh, I'm very worried about Adrian. He's terrible at school. He's terrible at music. He's not going to do anything in music. Like, you've got to tell him to not. And then Jack phoned up and said, right, that's it. You've got to become a professional musician. You've got to do it to show him. And, you know, and he turned up and he turned up at this gig. And I remember it was at Butlins in Bognor Regis. They used to have a big jazz festival. And he turns up and he just walked over. He said, right. He said, are you okay? I said, yeah. He said, you drinking? I was like, yeah. He said, you smoking? I said, yeah. He said, you womanizing? Yeah. He said, moderation? I said, yeah. Okay. I said, okay. He said, you're sounding too much like me. He said, change it. He said, be you. He said, start. He said, you know, and there was a sort of backhanded compliment. It's like, oh, great. Oh, yeah, you're sounding a bit too much like me, but I love your playing. That's great.
Wow.
You know, that's what I want. No, don't do that. You know, and I think my style, you know, people comment on it now who knew Jack very well, and they say, you know, your style is completely different to Jack's. You know.
Wow. What an inspiring moment to be seen as a peer by somebody you respect so much.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it was, you know, quite a thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. So, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, taste in music, and we share so much of the same kind of interest in certain people. But I'm always interested to talk to you about what you're discovering, because you always seek out new stuff,
yeah.
You know, and I want to tie that into talking about what you practice. So I know you've gone through this phase now recently, and it was, you know, a shame that you know, the whole thing, the trip got canceled, but you were going to go to New York to see Tom Harrell.
Yeah.
You know? And a lot of the people who listen to you play, and this is likewise with me, I'm saying this, understanding this, they might listen to you and not expect you to be a fan of Tom Harrell.
Well, I think everybody did, you know, and I put it into the Kansas Smitty's group. Oh, I'm going to say, well, the first person I told was Joe. Right. I was in Paris and we were both out there working, and I said, I watched this amazing concert from Dizzy's last night. I don't know the guy, it's this trumpet player, but he's just brilliant. I was like, I love it. I was chatting to him about it. He goes, who was it then? And I was like, right, I'll find it. I said, Tom Harrell. He's like, oh, Tom Harrell's amazing. I'm like, he's like, what, you like that? I'm like, yeah. He's like, it's brilliant, you know. And his latest album.
But not expecting you to be in.
No, that's it. But I mean, but the more that I look into, you then sent me a documentary or an interview with him, and I've watched so much about him. And I'll tell you what, it's the clearest thing about it is that it's all built on beautiful melodies. And that's all it's about. And that's what it is for me. It's like these people who play melodies. I mean, these last few weeks, I'm talking about discovering new things. I've been discovering, you know, stuff that I'm into, but just finding more of it. Yeah. And it's like an endless, you know, at the moment, I'm just looking into Jonny Dodds stuff, and I suddenly just found all these new tunes. I'm just like, wow. And then I thought, oh, wow. And then I'm going, hang on a minute, gosh. There's another thing. It's like, actually, these tunes are quite easy to learn, because that's how I play. I play like that. I play that phrase all the time. Right. Like I do that, like to the point where I annoy myself with that phrase, and that's the melody of that tune that I've never heard.
Right.
Like, what?
Right.
You know, and it's mad, but exciting in the same way. And so, you know, it's endless discovery, which is the best thing about it.
People who are at home now, you can check that out on Adrian Cox Music's Facebook page. That's Adrian. Me. And what time do you go live with that?
I do it 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock on Sundays. But you can watch his page. You can look back at the old Sunday service concerts. That's what you're calling them, right?
Yeah, Sunday service. So I did one to New Orleans Clarinet. The trouble is, every time I put one together, I go, oh, I'm gonna do an hour concert on Omar Simeon, Emil Barnes, George Lewis, Albert Nicholas. It's like, well, you can't get anywhere near anything in an hour. Do you know what I mean? You know.
Well, it's somebody's life, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, it's like I could do probably, you know, 3 weeks solid of one of them, right, and still not even touch anything of their career, you know.
I was saying, you know, but people keep asking me things like, how are you coping with what, and with the, you know, the situation right now, and I think, well, I'm not coping, I'm trying to excel here, you know, and I look around and I see so many people like yourself kind of taking advantage of the time that they have to do things that they would never otherwise have time to do. And I look at the project that you're doing on these clarinet players, and I think, what a resource, you know, because in the past, somebody would have to come to one of your gigs and talk to you to get that knowledge.
Yeah, of course.
And now that's documented.
Yeah.
And you must think about the legacy of those things, that you're kind of, what do you think about that?
Well, I think one of the things you said, how are you coping with this period, or what are you doing? I think actually what we're doing is what we always do. I think what we're actually doing is what we always do, but we're able to actually do some things to a further extent, like you say. So I think building up these things, and I look, as soon as something happens in my life or anything, I always put a plan together. I've got a plan. I know what I want to do. I know, like I've said it, I can't wait till I'm 40. Between 40 and 50, I'm so excited. Like, I can't wait. You know? But so with this, it was like, right, okay, what's going to happen here? And I thought about it, and I thought, right, I've got the Edmund Hall thing. I'll do that, and then I can look into this. And if it's something you're interested in, and it's something you like, it doesn't become hard work. It becomes a complete joy to put together. And people are like, how are you remembering these tunes? How are you learning the knowledge? It's like, if you're interested in something, you take all that on board. I said it to someone, I did an interview with someone the other day, and I said, I don't remember there being lessons at school on Edmund Hall or Sidney Bechet, otherwise I might not have left at 15. Do you know what I mean? I might have actually been bothered to do the exams, and even though I did exams, but I would have been a bit more bothered. But I think with this, it's some people have said, it's so, and what I'm getting a lot from is people who are really enjoying it, and they're saying, people have been donating and commenting, but it's the comments and how it's making other people feel. Because for me, it's just gaining more knowledge and just building my whole thing as a person and as a musician. But for other people, it's meaning so much, and people are like, that's great. Oh, I go back and watch them. There's people who go, oh yeah, we can't make it on Sunday, but we always watch it on a Tuesday afternoon. We sit down, we have coffee and cake, and me and the husband, and we sit and we watch it, and we do
carrot
that.
Cake.
Carrot cake. That's what I'm addicted to, carrot cake at the moment.
I think that's a thing that we forget. Being in our world of musicians and being around, all these people that inspire us in our own community. That outside of that bubble, that people don't know who Sidney Bechet is, and they don't know who Jonny Dodds is or George Lewis. And so when you bring that music to them, then they think, wow, this is great. I had no idea. Because actually those things, the double-edged sword of Spotify is that everything is at your fingertips. Yeah. But how do you find anything in everything?
That's the hard thing. But I think with what's nice, what the nice comments and what you said, putting something together like this and doing that, people are able to jump on it. And the thing is, the nice messages that I get are the ones that people go, who aren't even they're friends from school. Right. Who were totally unawares that this is what I do for a job. It's like, I kept in touch with nobody from school. And someone's like, all right, do you remember me from school? And like, I've been watching your things. Oh, they're so informative. But the thing is, it's so exciting because it's pure love for it. Yeah. And they said, it's just like, oh, we can't wait for the next one. And it's like, wow, this is like people at school that I never thought that I'd reconnect with, but actually they're all tuning in and they're all going, oh, they're all sending money, they're all, but it's the messages and emails that they're saying, oh, who's next? And also there's someone I found out, a friend of mine, his girlfriend at the time, they came to see me at a gig and she had said, oh, I'm really into jazz. And you often hear that phrase, oh yeah, my partner's into jazz, or oh yeah, he's really into jazz, or she's really into jazz. And you sort of sometimes take that with a pinch of salt, because when someone says they're into jazz, I think you. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Are you into jazz? Yes, you are into jazz. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, it turns out that that this girl's massively into jazz, and she said to me, she was like, oh, I said, oh, I'm doing a week of requests, and she just put a YouTube clip of Paquito de Rivera playing with Dizzy Gillespie. I'm like. And so I immediately sent a photo back of us with Paquito, just like. Hey.
Remember that photo? That Kat Henry said, "Get in the picture."
Yeah.
She said, It was we were backstage at Jazz at Lincoln Center in New York, and we were going around in awe of all these people that were just walking around backstage because it was the Lincoln Center gala.
It was
wild. And Kat Henry, who's somebody that I'll forever respect for that moment, because I was just standing there, basically petrified on the side. Yeah. It's like, that's Paquito de Rivera.
Yeah.
She said, get in the photo. You'll be happy you did years later.
Yeah.
Just so that you have that memory of like having, and you know, we have so many memories from
Well,
that
we're
night,
lucky with that. You know, and the other thing is I sent Paquito a message the other day and said, hey, I just did that. And we've been talking,
Wow,
you know, over
that's
the
amazing.
week, you know, and then that just opened up. I've always gone, oh yeah, I like Paquito de Rivera, but I've listened to what, maybe 4 or 5 tunes, in all honesty, you know, and now, like in the last 2 weeks, I've listened to so much of his stuff, and the stuff that the Kachel, you know, the master sessions, to which I said, so my girlfriend who plays bass, obviously Andrea, you know, and then she came, I'm like, oh, I love this, it's so good, and then she comes down from upstairs with the master sessions transcriptions, like for double bass and clarinet. It's like, what? I'm like, I didn't know you had that. She's like, yeah, I love that. It's like, it's brilliant.
It's incredible.
So it just, in all, you know, surprises all the way along, you know. It's good.
So we're coming to you from our studio in East London, and you can hear the sounds of Alec Harper thinking.
Yeah.
And Joe Webb and Connor Chaplin and Will Cleesby are outside getting a coffee, and we're going to be playing some tunes. So what are we gonna do today? I was hoping maybe we could play some of the classics. You know, a song that I love hearing you sing, if you don't mind doing it, is Taking a Chance on Love.
Yeah.
You down to do that?
Great. I haven't played that. The last time would have been with you.
Great.
Probably on one of those late night sessions somewhere.
And what can we do? Can we do one of the ones from Sidney Bechet? Maybe the I don't know. What tunes did you learn from him?
Crikey, I learned so many things. I learned so many lovely things. There's a great tune that I learned actually, which actually we should do it anyway. You always throw it on me, so I'll throw one on you.
Go.
It's called If I Let You Get Away With It Once, You'll Do It All of the Time.
Wow.
It was an old thing. Sidney Bechet was working with all these old blues singers, and it was with a singer called Margaret Johnson.
Wow.
And,
I've never even heard that before.
Yeah, and he was working with Alberta Hunter, but I didn't know Alberta Hunter used a different name. She used her sister's name, Josephine Beattie.
Right.
Yeah, but Bechet was on all of that in 1923. You know, so it's just after that stuff with Clarence Williams. I think Clarence Williams is on him and all that.
Right. Okay.
If I Let You Get Away With It Once, You'll Do It All of the Time.
What a title, man.
It's great.
It's great.
It's got great words. I'll sing it as well.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
So you have an exciting thing coming up soon that I want to just mention. You're doing a concert for Dizzy's in New York.
Yeah.
And can you tell us some details about that?
Yeah, so we're doing a Sunday. It's so whereas I normally do my Sunday Facebook Live, I will be doing a Facebook Live it'll be through Dizzy's Club in New York, through their Facebook page, but it'll be late at night, so you have to stay up late if you're in the UK. But I think it'll be 7 p.m.
But the Sunday services are usually solo, and this is going to be...
Yeah, so this is going to be the first time that I've done one, leading one with Joe Webb on piano. So, who, of course, myself and Joe have worked loads together since I met him.
It would be easier if he was a nice guy, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, it's very hard. You know, I've always said that. You know, hours spent in the bandwagon. That's why I don't go in the hotel. I sleep in the bus. I give them the nice hotel. No, but yeah, I can't wait. You know, it's been, you know, with just before all of this, we'd just toured. First time I'd toured the all original music of my own, which I'd co-written a lot with Joe. So it was like the year was looking quite like, oh great, yeah, we're going to be doing this and doing that. And Joe had his own tour that he was going to be doing in April, and all of that just went out the window. And then to finally come and see everyone after like this break. And one thing I know is that you've all been really, really putting the effort in and like not fazed by it, which excites me because it hasn't fazed me. You know, it's like, right, okay. If you don't get to grips with it, you're going to come out the other end pretty annoyed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you know, and then the first time I heard you guys doing stuff from here, and you and Joe, and I think the first time message just sounded ridiculous. You know, the two of you sounded brilliant. It was just, it was but
it's optimistic, isn't it? I appreciate that, but it was the only thing we could do.
Yeah.
Know? So that's what we did.
Well, you jumped on it pretty quick, and I think that's something that Smitty's always does. You know, that's it. It's like, right, we're going to do this, and then go for it. You know, and that's the thing. You go for it, and if it doesn't work, the next thing will come along after that, because then you've learnt a way. If it doesn't work, you've learnt a way not to do it.
Right.
And then you take that and then do it the way that, you know, and that's the nice thing. And of course this would happen. Do you know what I mean? I not doubted it in the slightest.
Yeah.
I put it again, you know, I never came down to Smitty's in the first place because I was sort of annoyed with it, because I was like, why aren't I a part of this? But then luckily became a part of it. And then it's like this, like, oh.
Well, I love that story because you tell that story really well. The way that, because we met, you know, we met down the street from here.
Met straight from here.
And then we didn't see each other again for years, I think.
We saw on a tube.
Well, that was the same.
That was the same one, wasn't it? Oh, then we went and got the tube.
Yeah, we got the tube together.
But then, sorry, I was still drinking then, wasn't I?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess so. Yeah.
And then we were at the Evan Christopher.
I was at your birthday party at Ronnie Scott's upstairs.
That's the first night I met Joe, but didn't really meet him. Joe said he was scared of me. It's just like, wow. I think that night was
He's still scared of you.
I think that was quite an impressive night. I think I managed to get barred from everywhere. I think I got barred from Ronnie's that night. I don't know.
Well,
maybe. The good old days.
The good old days. So how you tell? I like the way you tell the story of getting involved in Smitty's.
Well, Smitty's is so I was knowing it was going on, and the thing that was happening in East London.
Because you had played in the bar.
Oh yeah, so
years before
that area, and all of that. There was nothing new to me. That whole street, that bar off Broadway, upstairs, was nothing. It wasn't like, oh wow, I'm going to a new place. It's off Broadway, and then there's something going on in the basement. Well, we used to play there on a Tuesday night in the basement. I've done duos in there to nobody. For you know, did stuff with TJ there, and then I'd heard that it was all going on, and TJ was one who said, "Cool, you should come down here. It's all kicking off around here. Kansas Smitty's got their thing. Oh, it's cool." And I thought, no, I was like, right, I'm really annoyed. Like I'm jealous of the thing. Not jealous, envious.
Yeah.
Or maybe I was jealous, I don't know. But, you know, and I was like, right. And then I remember all within a very short space of time, November the 5th, came down to Pizza Express, and you lot were doing a Samoa session thing.
Yeah.
And that's when I met Gethin, the drummer. I always remember that, yeah. I remember meeting him at the bar. I was at the bar with Mike Yanish, actually.
Wow.
And then I came up and sat in.
Yeah.
And then in January, that's what I found out. I lived around the corner from Joe Webb in Stoke Newington. We did a gig, and we ended up. Then he was doing a gig at Smitty's with Applejacks, as they were called then, you know, organ trio.
Brazos.
So I went, yeah, that's it. So I went down, and I would like have a sit in, and I had a sit. I was like, this is brilliant. Like, this is great. You know, I thought, oh, brilliant. And then 2 weeks later, I'm in Ronnie Scott's. I'm watching Ramsey Lewis. Yeah. In Ronnie Scott's, absolutely fantastic. You know, sat there, great seat, watching it on a Saturday night. And I'd had 2 nights in a hotel in Covent Garden for reasons I won't go into. But we were, and so I wake up on the Monday morning and I've got a week off, and it's rare for me to have a week off.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking
because you're touring with Bad Manners. You know, you're doing your own quartet. You're doing jobs for everybody.
Yeah, I just keep, you know, and I'd never say no. You know, so well unless it's rubbish. But so I'm sat there and I wake up and I think, great. I haven't got to do anything for a week. And then I get a text message from Giacomo saying, are you free this Saturday? Do you want a gig? It's like, yeah, all right, yeah, I am free this Saturday. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, great. We'll be in touch in a bit. So that was about 8:30, 9 in the morning. But at 9:30, Pete Horsfall phones and says, all right, mate, how you doing? I said, all right, Pete, long time. I said, yeah, Giacomo. He said, has Giacomo told you about this gig? And I said, well, yeah. I said, he's offered me the gig on Saturday. I said, where is it? What's the rep? What's the thing? He's like, what? Has he not told you anything? I was like, no. He's like, right, okay. So the gig is Ronnie Scott's. It's like our first main show there. It's 2 houses. I'm like, okay, what's the music? It's all original music. We're still writing some of the music. Are you free every day this week to come down to Kansas Smitty's and rehearse? Like, can you be over here in the next 45 minutes? I was like, yeah, all right. And then I got there, did, you know, a whole day's rehearsal. My brain's gone, oh my gosh, you know, I've never thrown myself into something like that, learning parts. Slightly, you know, I reckon I was probably a wild card from stylistically, for the, you know. And I remember thinking, God, this is great. And then the next day I'm there and we're going through learning all these tunes. Like I finished about 16 tunes or something. And then the next day go in and Giacomo's talking to Ferg, going, Ferg, what tune are you going to put on the album? It's very important that we have, you know, that we have as many songwriters on the album as possible. He's like, yeah, so I've got this, you know, on the album. I'm like, all right, you're doing an album. It's like, oh yeah, we're doing an album. I'm like, when? Oh, Saturday night. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, it's a live recording from Ronnie's. I'm like, right, okay, well, no one's told me this, you know. And then that happened, and then we did the gig, and I think the gig was very successful. The recording sounded great, you know. And then
the rest is history.
And then the Monday, it's like, well, do you want to join the band? I remember saying, right, okay, cheers. Right, who do I invoice? You know, it's like, all right, Jack. He's like, well, yeah, I think we need to talk about whether you, like what's going to happen, because like you know all the music now, and this is what we're going to play.
Yeah.
And it's like no one really wants to go through teaching that to whoever, you know, to whatever was going. You know, doesn't want to teach someone new or anything. You know.
Yeah. And
then that was that.
I love that story because you know, it's you say it as if it, you know, it just happened, but it's there wasn't a question in my mind about having you do that gig, because you know, actually it was Reese who saw you play at my friend Reese Lewis, who's actually putting his album out in about 8 days or
That's
something.
coming out soon, isn't it? Yeah.
And
he better get us on it.
He said, "What? Yeah." He said, "Why don't you call Adrian?" And I said, "That's a great idea. Okay, yeah." And the reason was that you're hungry, you know. And there's a thing. It's not about, and this is something that I've realized about all the people that I want to work with. It's not about the style of music that they play. It's about that attitude that they bring to the table. And I've said that about, you know, I've said that about Alec, who's in there, you know, trying to figure out tunes on piano. I've said that about Willsby.
Well, I think you've actually got that team. I think you've always surrounded yourself with people, and you know, and you could. I think with Smitty's, from being as a sort of more outsider person watching it now, and what, you know, I can see people flit in and out, and I can, you know, I think I'm quite a good judge of character and musically, like, you know, I've worked things out, and I sometimes think, wow, I wonder how that's going to work, and then it does work for that period, but then it's like, hang on a minute, no, that won't. Someone like Willsby on drums, you know, I remember the first gig that he did, and he's, you know, he couldn't learn stuff quick enough, you know. And now when you hear him on the thing, I mean, he was always good.
He knows it before.
But now because you know that he's going home checking it out. He's not going home waiting to, you know. He walked in here today. He's excited to see the drum kit.
Yeah.
I mean,
what else do you need?
That's it. Yeah. Not so excited to see the clarinet though, was he? Have a word with him.
He was excited to see you.
Yeah, that's good.
Adrian Cox, been great to chat to you today. You know, always a pleasure, man.
Well, thanks for having me in here.
So we're gonna play a few tunes now for you. We're gonna play "Taking a Chance on Love," and we're gonna play that tune.
If I let you get away with it once, you'll do it all of the time.
Yeah, but what's the song called?
Well, that's cool.
Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Hey there, we're back with the band, and we're going to play that few of those tunes that we were talking about. This first one is "Taking a Chance on Love." Connor Chaplin on the bass. Amazing. Joe Webb on the piano. Is that the first time you played with a band?
Yeah.
In your whole life?
Whole life. First time I played with a band for 4 months.
Incredible. What's this called?
What's this called? Jazz.
I thought you could never do this to me, but you did, and you'll never do it again.
If I let you get away with it once, you'll do it all of the time.
Yeah.
God.
Wait, is that what
That's what it's called.
Not now, guys.
How do you want to do it?
How does it go?
All right. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. get away with it once, you'll do it all of the time.
You've said it before.
Crikey. Yeah, it wasn't the first time.
You too.
Hey, what?